Welcome to you, Mother Truckers. This week, we've got two flash fiction stories lined up for your listening pleasure. Think blockbuster action meets page-turning thrillers all boiled down to their most captivating essence. Get ready for a wild ride.
Indeed. We've got a fascinating pair of tales for you today that really showcase the power of condensed storytelling. Really packs a punch.
First up for your consideration, we're diving headfirst into Skywatchers. Imagine for a moment you're just a regular teenager, maybe a bit bored on a weekend, flying a drone around the outskirts of town. Then, out of the blue, your camera captures something that seems utterly impossible.
Yeah, it's quite the setup.
We're going to unpack the story of two teens, Jen and Mark, and the cosmic secret their drone unexpectedly unearths. What happens, when a simple glimpse of the unknown suddenly thrusts these ordinary kids right into the middle of a top-secret government investigation? It's a thought-provoking scenario, isn't it?
It is. And what's particularly compelling for you, the listener, is how this story takes such a relatable, almost mundane starting point teenagers with a drone and escalates it into something extraordinary and potentially life-altering.
Absolutely. The flash fiction story opens with Jen and Mark doing exactly that, just messing around with their drone. Jen's convinced she saw something out of the ordinary, a fleeting flash in the sky that just didn't look right.
But Mark's not buying it initially.
No, typical teenager. Right. Mark is totally skeptical. Burgers are on his mind, a much more pressing concern than blurry aerial phenomena. What stood out to you about this initial conflict, the skeptic versus the believer?
But what's fascinating here is that initial resistance from Mark. It grounds the story in reality. It highlights how easily we can dismiss the unusual, preferring the comfort of the ordinary, even when presented with potential evidence to the contrary. It makes Jen's persistence all the more crucial for what unfolds.
Exactly. And Jen is persistent. She convinces Mark to send the drone up just a little bit higher, and that's when they capture it. The source material describes it as a glint of silver, moving way too fast to be any kind of bird.
Way too fast.
And Jen, of course, is all over it, urging Mark to keep recording. What did you make of that specific detail, the speed of the object?
Well, the sheer velocity immediately suggests something beyond conventional aircraft. It's a detail designed to pique your curiosity, the listener, signaling that what they've captured isn't just an atmospheric anomaly or like a weather balloon. It's something operating under different rules.
No kidding.
All right.
Suddenly, it's not just one strange flash, but three saucer-shaped objects. And these aren't your grandma's flying saucers from old sci-fi movies. They're sleek, they're silent, and they're maneuvering in ways that just seem physically impossible.
Right. The story mentions impossible formations.
Yeah, which really paints a picture of something beyond our current understanding of physics. For you, thinking about this, what kind of questions does that raise about the nature of these objects?
Well, that description of impossible formations is key. It suggests a level of technology or understanding of physics that far surpasses our own. It immediately invites speculation. Are these piloted? Are they sentient? What kind of forces are allowing them to move in such a way? It throws our current scientific paradigms into question, at least within the context of the story.
Exactly. Their first instinct after the initial shock is that they have to tell someone. But then reality hits. Who would believe two teenagers with some shaky drone footage? What would your first thought be in that situation?
That's the immediate dilemma, isn't it? The burden of extraordinary evidence with limited credibility. Their youth works against them in terms of authority and believability, which is, well, it's a common trope in stories like this, highlighting the challenges of truth-telling in a world often resistant to the unbelievable.
Which leads to their perhaps not so well thought out decision to upload the video anonymously to an obscure conspiracy theory forum. Looking at that choice, what potential consequences might they have overlooked?
Well, while seeking a community that might be receptive to their claims, the anonymity, as you pointed out, is crucial for them, likely to avoid ridicule. However, uploading anything to the internet, even anonymously, it rarely remains truly private.
Right.
They likely didn't foresee the speed and reach of online dissemination and the potential for their discovery to attract much wider and potentially unwanted attention.
You got it. The flash fiction story mentions the thread exploding with comments, downloads, reposts. Suddenly, their blurry footage isn't just a teenage discovery. It's being dissected by analysts, argued over by strangers online. And then
Then the black fans show up.
a black van show up. How does this escalation in the story make you feel about the nature of discovery?
This sudden shift from online chatter to physical intervention underscores a potential reality. that certain kinds of discoveries, particularly those with, say, national security implications, are not met with open curiosity, but with swift and often forceful control. It raises questions about who has the right to know and the extent to which governments will go to maintain secrecy.
Absolutely. Jen and Mark are swept along, as the story says, interrogated, tested, their ordinary lives completely upended. They're no longer just Jen and Mark, they're the kids who had glimpsed behind the curtain. It's a really powerful image for you to consider. What does that phrase, glimpsed behind the curtain, suggest about the nature of reality in the story?
It suggests that the reality we perceive on a daily basis might be a carefully constructed facade, and that Jen and Mark's accidental discovery has pulled back that veil, revealing a hidden, much larger, and potentially more complex truth. It speaks to the idea of hidden knowledge and the potential consequences of uncovering it.
And the consequences are severe and long-lasting. The flash fiction story jumps forward years later, revealing the tragic fate of Mark. This is where it gets really interesting for you to consider. Mark passes away from leukemia.
Yeah, that's rough.
And while the story doesn't explicitly state a direct link, Jen strongly suspects the endless tests and potential radiation exposure from those undisclosed locations played a role. It introduces a really somber and thought-provoking element to the narrative.
What does this potential link between their discovery and Mark's death tell us about the cost of such monumental revelations, not on a global scale, but on a personal one?
It highlights the often unseen individual cost that can accompany groundbreaking discoveries. While humanity might gain proof of alien life, for Jen, the price of that knowledge is the loss of her friend. It forces us to consider the ethical implications of how we handle such discoveries and the potential for harm to those who are first to encounter them.
And in the end, humanity has its proof. Aliens exist. But contact remains elusive. And the only tangible result for Jen is the loss of her friend. It's a really bleak outcome for her, isn't it?
It is. The story avoids a triumphant narrative of first contact and instead focuses on the lingering consequences and the unanswered questions. The world has changed, but perhaps not in a way that brings immediate understanding or benefit to those most directly involved. But the flash fiction story doesn't quite end there. Jen still holds on to the original, untouched footage on a memory card. It's a little seed of a future possibility for you to think about, isn't it? A hint that this story might not be completely over.
Right.
What kind of future implications might that detail suggest?
Well, that final detail introduces an element of potential future agency for Jen. It suggests that the truth might not remain suppressed indefinitely, and that her experience and Mark's sacrifice might eventually lead to a broader public awareness or perhaps even further investigation. It leaves the door open for a future chapter in this unfolding story.
Okay, so we've gone from teenage curiosity to government secrets and tragic loss in that first flash fiction story. Now let's shift gears completely for our second pit stop. We're venturing into the wildly imaginative world of God's hunger. Forget your typical high school bake sale.
Yeah, quite the tonal shift.
This is a cooking competition, but with the divine twist for you to wrap your head around.
This flash fiction story offers a stark contrast in tone and setting, doesn't it? From the shadowy world of government investigations to the vibrant, almost fantastical realm of a celestial cooking competition. What aspects of this shift in narrative stand out to you?
You got it. The Celestial Chefs is the name of the show, and the judges are none other than actual gods. Zeus, Kali, Odin, the whole divine pantheon. And the stakes are astronomically high, literally. What are your initial thoughts on a premise like this, where culinary skill meets divine power?
What's inherently engaging is the blending of the mundane cooking with the extraordinary, the gods. It creates a unique framework to explore themes of power, emotion, and the unexpected connections between the mortal and divine realms. The high stakes, with gods gaining powers, immediately raise the tension.
Right. Imagine being a teenager and having to cook a dish that could give Zeus super strength or Kali even more destructive power. Our flash fiction story focuses on two young chefs in particular, Maya and Chang. And Chang is set up as the favorite, apparently having wowed the judges in previous weeks with some impressive phoenix tear dumplings. You can't make this stuff up. What does setting up Chang as the favorite do for the story?
It immediately establishes a sense of rivalry and high expectations, as you said. Chang represents the established talent, the one to beat, creating anticipation for the underdog, Maya, and her potential to surprise.
Maya, on the other hand, seems to have a different approach. Her strategy involves using some pretty unconventional ingredients that she's apparently foraged from the divine pantry. We're talking a golden apple, starlight lotus, and even thunderbird feathers.
Wow.
It sounds like something straight out of mythology for you to picture. What does Maya's choice of ingredients suggest about her understanding of the competition?
These ingredients immediately signal that this isn't just about culinary skill in a traditional sense. It's about understanding the essence of the divine and incorporating that into the food. It suggests Maya have a deeper, perhaps more intuitive connection to the nature of the gods themselves.
And Maya seems to have stumbled upon a key insight. She realizes that the gods actually grow stronger by consuming dishes that embody their core emotions. So her humble broth isn't just some simple soup, it's infused with distilled joy from her childhood memories.
This is joy. Interesting concept.
What do you think of this idea that emotions can fuel divine power?
This is a really clever twist, isn't it? It adds a psychological and emotional dimension to the competition. It's not just about taste, it's about tapping into the fundamental nature of these powerful beings. It suggests that even gods are driven by and susceptible to emotional resonance.
And it works. Zeus apparently hasn't been that joyful since togas were in style, and even Kali's destructive energy is calmed by the broth. That's a pretty significant reaction for you to consider.
It's especially for Kali.
Exactly.
Mm.
What does Kali's reaction tell us about the potential of emotions like joy?
Kali's calming reaction suggests that even seemingly opposing forces can be balanced or influenced by unexpected emotions. It hints at a complexity within the gods, that they are not solely defined by their primary attributes. Maybe there's more to them than just, destruction or thunderbolts.
But Chang, not to be outdone, retaliates in a very different way. He uses distilled fury in his sauce, which, unsurprisingly, Ares absolutely loves.
Of course, Ares loves it.
It's a direct contrast to Maya's approach, focusing on a more volatile and intense emotion. What does this contrast between Maya and Chang's cooking styles highlight?
It highlights two different approaches to understanding and appealing to power. Maya focuses on a more harmonious, perhaps even healing emotion, while Chang aims to amplify the more aggressive aspects. It sets up a dynamic tension in their culinary battle.
And this is where Odin steps in with a note of caution. He expresses concern about the potential imbalance of focusing on single emotions for God's power. He recognizes the inherent danger in such a narrow focus.
Ah, Odin the Wise.
What wisdom do you think Odin brings to this unusual cooking competition?
Well, Odin, often associated with wisdom and foresight, recognizes the potential instability of power derived from singular, intense emotions. His concern suggests that true strength, even for gods, might lie in a more holistic and balanced state. It's not just about being super angry or super joyful all the time.
Exactly. Odin, with his wisdom, sees the bigger picture. And he seems to recognize that Maya's understanding goes deeper than just triggering a single powerful emotion. He notes that the girl understands the importance of balance. What do you think Maya understands that Chang might be missing?
Maya seems to understand the interconnectedness of emotions and the potential for harmony, even among powerful beings. Chang's approach seems more focused on immediate amplification of a single trait, whereas Maya seems to grasp a more nuanced interplay of forces, like seeing the whole picture, not just one piece.
And what happens next is really unexpected. Instead of continuing to compete, Maya and Chang actually end up cooking together. They start sharing their knowledge, Maya about balance and Chang about restraint. It's a really beautiful moment of unexpected collaboration for you to appreciate.
That is surprising. What do you think motivates this sudden shift from rivalry to teamwork?
Well, perhaps Odin's observation sparks a realization in both of them. Chang might recognize the limitations of his singular focus, and Maya might see the value in channeling intense emotions with more control. It suggests a shared pursuit of a deeper understanding of their craft and its impact. Maybe they see they can learn from each other.
That makes sense. A synergy develops.
And their combined dishes reflect this newfound understanding. They're not about these massive power surges for the gods, but about a harmonious blend of flavors and emotions. It's about creating something whole and balanced for you to consider. What does this outcome suggest about the nature of true power?
The outcome implies that true power isn't necessarily about dominance or extremes, but about balance, understanding, and the ability to synthesize different elements into a cohesive whole. It's a powerful message that resonates beyond the divine realm. It's subtlety over brute force, perhaps.
The outcome is equally unconventional. There's no single winner. Instead, gods and mortals share a feast together, finding a sense of unity and a lost balance. It's a really optimistic and heartwarming resolution for you to take away.
A shared meal. Very symbolic.
What's the significance of this shared meal in the story?
The shared meal symbolizes a breaking down of barriers and a finding of common ground. It suggests that even beings as different as gods and mortals can connect through shared experiences and appreciate the value of harmony and balance, food bringing everyone together, literally.
Yeah, it's like this shared meal becomes a catalyst for something greater than just a cooking competition. It's about finding common ground and connection even between gods and humans. And Maya and Chang share this knowing smile, realizing that their shared creation achieved something far more significant than any individual victory.
Mm-hmm. The power of collaboration.
It's about the power of collaboration and understanding for you to reflect on. What's the biggest lesson you think Maya and Chang learned through this experience?
They seem to have learned that true innovation and impact can come not from individual competition, but from the sharing of knowledge and a focus on creating something greater than themselves. Their combined effort led to a more profound outcome than either could have achieved alone. Teamwork makes the dream work, even for celestial chefs.
So you've just taken a pit stop into two very different flash fiction stories. In Skywatchers, the thrill of discovery took a really dark turn, becoming a heavy burden and raising some serious questions about the true cost of monumental revelations for you to ponder.
Definitely a cautionary tale in some ways.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it, what you would actually do if you suddenly captured undeniable proof of something that could fundamentally change everything we thought we knew.
Yeah, that's the big question. And God's hunger, on the other hand, offered a much more hopeful perspective for you, showing us that even beings as powerful as gods can learn valuable lessons about the importance of balance and connection through something as seemingly simple as a shared meal.
It really makes you think about the unexpected ways we can find common ground, even across vast differences in power and perspective.
Absolutely. Different paths, different lessons.
Absolutely. We hope these tales have sparked your imagination and maybe even given you a little something to ponder as you go about your day. What's one lingering question each of these stories leaves you with?
Hmm. Well, Skywatchers leaves me wondering about the ethics of suppressing potentially world-altering information in the name of security. Like, where's that line drawn? And God's hunger makes me consider the role of balance and harmony in all forms of power, whether earthly or divine. Is extreme power inherently unstable without balance?
Good questions. Rate and follow you mother truckers for more captivating mysteries from the world of flash fiction. And until next time, keep those eyes open to the unexpected, both in the skies and maybe in the kitchen too.